During yesterday's leaders' questions in the Dáil, Seamus Healy, Independent TD for South Tipperary, accused the Labour Party of betraying James Connolly and Michael Davitt in selling off the homes of over 13,000 Irish families to vulture capitalists, the modern equivalent of rack rent landlords. Now, he asked if this was not economic treason, but Joan Burton for the government defended the sale.
Well, the special liquidators have been appointed to oversee the liquidation of the IBRC, and that's for, in law, Deputy, the benefit of all the creditors of the institution, including the state. So the special liquidator, as with any liquidator, has to maximise the return, and to do so, to do otherwise, would actually leave the liquidator open to legal challenge. So the process involves the special liquidators conducting a valuation and sale process for all the assets of the IBRC, including the residential mortgage portfolio. They're obliged to ensure that they maximise the price obtained in respect. Now, I understand and I respect your concern for the people who have mortgages with the institution, but can I just say that there have been a number of such sales carried out, and I know quite a number of deputies have asked this question of both the Taoiseach and the Minister for Finance. And in those cases, although a number of the purchasers were outside of the state, they have in fact adhered to the Code of Conduct, and they have adhered to the guidelines set down by the Central Bank. So that is exactly what I would expect to happen in this case. You instance that, unfortunately, because of the collapse of the banks and what Fianna Fáil bequeathed to us all in relation to the collapse of the banks, we have a situation where quite a number of financial institutions have collapsed. And clearly, what we have to do in order to get the economy working again fully and in recovery, which we've now started, is in fact to sort out the issues arising from liquidation. I would be very confident that in fact the mortgage holders will find that, as has happened in previous cases in this respect, that the advice and the codes of conduct established by the Central Bank will in fact be adopted. And it makes no other sense, if I may say so, Deputy, for the purchasers, whoever they may be, whether from Ireland or from abroad, of the mortgages, because at the end of the day, what they will want is to recover their money. And in fact, if, as you suggest, they're going to buy some of the mortgages at a discount, in fact, it will make sense for them to treat their customers very well, because that will ensure that, in fact, they recover the money that they invest in this particular deal. And that is what has happened both in Ireland and has happened in other jurisdictions, when unfortunately there have been the kind of bank collapses and the liquidation of financial institutions.
Right, that was the response of Joan Burton, the government's response to a question by Seamus Healy. Seamus Healy is on line 3. Seamus Healy, good morning.
Good morning, Seamus.
So is this all about Irish nationwide mortgage holders, former Irish nationwide mortgage holders?
Well, it is, initially it is, Seamus, but this situation could arise for any mortgage holder in any of the institutions. What is happening here is that the 13,000 original Irish nationwide mortgage holders, which are now with the Irish Bank Resolution Corporation, the government are now proposing to sell these mortgages, to sell this mortgage book to what are called vulture capitalists, foreign vulture capitalists, the equivalent, modern equivalent of the old rack renting landlords.
Why do you call them vulture capitalists?
Because basically what is happening here is that they are swooping on the Irish market. They are bidding for these loans, this mortgage book, at hugely reduced rates. For instance, performing loans in these 13,000 will be purchased for something of a discount ranging to 30%. Non-performing loans will be purchased with discounts of in excess of 50%. So what is happening here is that huge amounts of money will be streaming out of the Irish economy to the detriment of Irish society and to the detriment of the Irish economy. What we want to do is to protect the mortgage holder and to give them at least the same protection that other mortgage holders currently have through the Irish Central Bank. However, what is happening is that these particular vulture capitalists are not covered and are not obliged to be covered by the central bank regulations. So we have a situation where not alone are the mortgage holders themselves not allowed to bid for their mortgages, but these companies are buying the mortgages at hugely discounted prices and have no obligation to meet the normal safeguards.
Right. So do you think that IBRC? Yes. Do you think that IBRC should hold on to these mortgages?
Well, that is a very good question, Seamus, and I have no doubt that they should. And the minister can instruct the special liquidator to do so. He has that power under the legislation which was introduced liquidating IBRC. And I believe that the minister should do that because mortgage holders, and particularly mortgage holders in distress, need certainty and need protection. And it's simply not good enough to say that these companies may voluntarily agree to these protections.
Right. What about if the minister sold these 13,000 mortgages to banks and building societies that are still performing in this country? Would they be subject then to the regulatory system obtaining in this country?
They would, Seamus. That's his point. That if the mortgages were bought by an Irish company, then they would be subject to the central bank regulations and the various protections that mortgage holders have in relation to that. But because they are foreign companies, they are not covered by these regulations. Now, the minister actually has said that he is considering legislation in this matter, but he won't introduce it until 2015. Now, Seamus, you know and I know, that's like closing the door after the horse is bolted.
Would he have any power if there's a sale to these vulture capitalists, as you call them, outside the country? Would he have any power to subsequently impose restrictions on them? Say, would he be able to stop them, putting unreasonable interest rates on the mortgages?
None whatsoever, Shem. He will have no control after the event, and that's the problem. Because these companies may well initially voluntarily accept these regulations and these protections. But tomorrow they might not. A new manager, a new management might come in and change that. They may be taken over by another company who are not bound by these either. So we have a situation where there's absolutely no control after the event. Who, for instance, in that situation, would a mortgage holder who had difficulties go to? Would they knock at the door of the central bank? If they did, the central bank would say, I'm sorry, we have no control. Would they knock at the Department of Finance? They may well do, but again, the Department of Finance say we have no control over this situation. These mortgages are sold and gone.
Yeah, but the Minister for Finance says that if additional terms were applied to the sale of the mortgages, it would kind of lessen the value and could leave the government open to legal challenge.
Well, Seamus, as I said, first of all, it's open to the Minister. First of all, to instruct the special liquidator not to sell these mortgages at all. That's the first thing. Secondly, the Minister has said himself that he's considering legislation and intends to introduce it in 2015. So I don't really understand where he's coming from in relation to this. But another point in relation to loss, there could well be a huge loss to the state generally and to the taxpayer generally if these mortgages are bought by these foreign companies. First of all, the money is streaming out of the country, but secondly, repossession, as you know, Seamus, will mean that anybody who has the vast majority anyway.
I know, but when you say the money is streaming out of the country, Seamus, the money isn't streaming out of the country. I mean, if these people are paying for the 13,000 mortgages, it's coming back to the Irish Exchequer, surely.
No. There's been the situation, Seamus, is that the repayments are being paid. The
repayments will be going out of the country, but absolutely. I'm saying the original, the money that they'll get for it, that's coming back into the Irish Exchequer.
Well, first of all, at a hugely discounted price.
As you said, yeah.
So there's a huge loss there. But secondly, and like from a social and from a family point of view, probably more importantly, you have a situation where families will lose their homes. And secondly, as a result of that,
why will they lose their homes?
Well, because there is a significant amount of these mortgages
in distress.
In distress, and the modus operandi of these organisations are these foreign rent-renting companies are come in and effectively to repossess homes where the mortgages are in distress.
And now finally, the minister said, "Yeah,
I just want to finish this. That will mean, first of all, families losing homes. Secondly, it will mean, in the vast majority of cases, that those families can go on to the local authority housing list, which already have 98,000 persons on that list, families on that list.
Okay, the minister says,
secondly, Seamus, they will be almost certainly entitled to rent supplement at another huge cost to the state.
Right. Now, the minister says the previous two buyers of mortgage loan books from banks had abided by the CCMA, so they've abided by the terms, so there's no reason to expect that any other crowd would not abide.
On a voluntary basis, Seamus. And as you know and as I know, that can change from day to day, from hour to hour. And the mortgage holder has absolutely no comeback whatsoever. Because there is no third party to regulate the situation. Right. The central bank isn't doing it, won't be allowed to do it, the Department of Finance are not doing it. So the fact of the matter is that these 13,000 families are effectively being thrown to the wolves by the government, and I think that's not good enough, and they should be protected from these foreign companies.
Okay, thank you very much, Seamus Healy, for talking to us.
Thank you, Seamus.